إن الحمد لله نحمده ونستعينه ونستغفره ونعوذ بالله من شرور أنفسنا ومن سيئات أعمالنا. من يهدي الله فلا مضل له ومن يضلل فلا هادي له. وأشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له وأشهد أن محمدا عبده ورسوله صلى الله عليه وسلم. يقول الله تعالى بعد أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم: يا أيها الذين آمنوا اتقوا الله حق تقاته ولا تموتن إلا وأنتم مسلمون. يا أيها الناس اتقوا ربكم الذي خلقكم من نفس واحدة وخلق منها زوجها وبث منهما رجالا كثيرا ونساء واتقوا الله الذي تساءلون به والأرحام إن الله كان عليكم رقيبا. Indeed, all thanks is to Allah Azza wa Jalla. We seek refuge in Him and we seek His forgiveness. We seek refuge in Allah from the evil of ourselves and the evil of our actions. For indeed, whomsoever Allah Azza wa Jalla has guided to Islam, no one can misguide, and whomsoever Allah Azza wa Jalla misguides, no one can guide. And I stand before all of you and I bear witness, and I testify openly and freely that there is no deity, there is no Lord, there is none worthy of worship except Allah. And I stand before all of you and I testify openly and freely that the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam is the last and final messenger and the seal of all prophethood. All you who believe, be God conscious of Allah as is His due, and do not die unless you're in the state of Islam. Be God conscious of a Lord who created you from one soul, and from that soul many men and many women, and fear Allah in whose names you appeal to one another and honor family ties. Indeed, Allah is ever over you and I, an observer, a watcher. Around the world, in today's world, in today's society, you can stand in front of any camera, you can stand on any platform, tweet, post, speak about anything and everything. Say whatever you want to say, post or tweet whatever you want to post or tweet, often with very little consequences. And we see the effect of the words that we have and the speech that we can speak, in which it may cause riots, the destruction of societies and communities and relationships and countries. And the effect is real. Yet we value this idea of speech. We want to be more eloquent in our speech. We want to learn how to give a public speaking. We want to be able to land that interview, how to speak in such a manner. We even go out of our way to pay courses to learn how to speak, yet we have not learned how to be silent. We have not learned or mastered the art of silence. And part of that reason why we have not mastered the art of silence is that we do not understand the gravity of the matter. We do not understand what it really means and the effect of our words and our speech. And to understand the gravity of the words that we have, I want us for a second to imagine the reality that is soon to come, where we are standing before Allah Azza wa Jal. Everyone's book has been dispersed to them. كَفَى بِنَفْسِكَ الْيَوْمَ عَلَيْكَ حَسِيبًا. Everyone gets to see their book of deeds, mountains of deeds, good and bad. Yet amongst all of the Adam, that most, if not all, share. And that is the sin that occupies most of people's books. What the Prophet Muhammad ﷺ is telling us in the hadith by Abdullah bin Mas'ud. أكثر خطايا ابن آدم في لسانه. That the majority, most of the sins of the children of Adam is from his tongue. This is the reality of the matter. Imagine that majority of the sins in your book are coming from your tongue, coming from your speech. Elsewhere, the Prophet Muhammad ﷺ, he tells us, إِنَّ الْعَبْدَ لَيَتَكَلَّمُ بِكَلِمَةٍ ينزل بها في النار أبعد ما بين المشرق والمغرب. That verily the servant may speak a single word, and because of that word he plummets into the hellfire the distance between east and west. And how many of us fall into this trap without knowing or unknowingly? Where we say whatever we want to say, a calamity befalls us and we go out of our way to criticize, blame. Maybe even blaming Allah. Why me? Questioning Allah's decree. How many people, men, have, due to a lack of self-restraint, ended their relationships, ended their marriage? How many women have led men to end their marriage because of their speech? How many people around the world will say something that they later regret? And this is the idea of silence. That its concept is almost lost here in the West, where the First Amendment is freedom of speech. Say whatever you want to say. Freedom of press. Only to find 4 amendments later, do you have the freedom or the power to remain silent. And you'll find cross-culturally that the wisdom of a person is in their silence. To be able to remain silent. When you are silent, you have the time, you have the ability to wait, listen, evaluate, extrapolate, take the benefit of what is being said around you. You have the time to think before you say. This is the concept of wisdom. This is what wisdom is about. Think about what you're going to say before you say it. And this was the description of our beloved Prophet Muhammad ﷺ, as was described, كَانَ طَوِيلُ الصَّمْتِ, that he observed prolonged periods of silence. He would be silent for a long time, only to speak when necessary, when there was a benefit. Ask yourself, am I speaking more than am I silent? Or am I silent more than I speak? When I do speak, is there benefit to what I'm saying? Or am I just speaking unnecessarily? Do I have the knowledge to speak on the topic, or am I just speaking from my own biased opinion? Is what I say the best of speech? And will it benefit? And if it doesn't, then we need to master. We need to practice the art of silence. أقول قولي هذا واستغفر الله لي ولكم فاستغفروه إنه هو الغفور الرحيم. Bismillah wa salatu wa salam ala Rasulillah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. Inshallah, just a couple of quick announcements. ICF will be holding a Sisters Paint Night on Wednesday, October 16th. Registration will be required and details are on the Sisters group chat. ICF has launched its first matrimonial services, a platform for you to find a spouse and also a platform for you to register to, inshallah, get married. The details are on the WhatsApp group and on the ICF website. ICF Youth Group will be going on at Shenandoah for the Shenandoah hike for brothers ages 13 and up next Saturday. Registration is also on the ICF website. Please remember to sign up for our 2024 ICF membership to participate in this year's election. Again, the registration form is online. Lastly, we do have a brother whose mother is very sick in Afghanistan. We ask Allah Azza wa Jal to give her and all the Muslims who are sick shifa. May Allah Azza wa Jal cure her and cure all the Muslims. Allahumma ameen. We see the tricks of shaitan and how he may corrupt our speech while we think that we are saying or doing what is pleasing to Allah. And we need to be aware of these blind spots that we have as Muslims. That even if you are religious, you are not saved. You're not immune to the trial of the tongue. You're not immune to the trial and the trap of shaitan. That perhaps shaitan will trick you into bringing not just one Muslim, but Muslims down. We are the ones on the truth. We are the ones who follow the true Quran and Sunnah. Anyone else who doesn't name the name that we name ourselves is not among us, are not true Muslims. Anyone who doesn't come to this masjid or that masjid is not from among us. And we need to be careful about these traps. We need to be careful about how shaitan can trick us into bringing other people down, judging other people before even getting to know who the person is. The companions, they came to the Prophet Muhammad ﷺ and they asked him about a woman who often prayed, she gave charity, she fasted, but she was sharp with her tongue to her neighbors. And the Prophet Muhammad ﷺ plainly said, she's in the hellfire. Again, the companions, they asked him ﷺ about a woman who she didn't fast as much, she didn't pray as much, she didn't give in charity as much. Even the only charity she gave was some cheese. But she did not harm her neighbors with her speech, with her tongue. The Prophet Muhammad ﷺ described that she is in the paradise. Your tongue can make or break you. We learn to talk, but we also need to learn not to talk, when to remain silent. The mastery, the art of remaining silent. And I'd like to go over, with the little bit of time that I have, just a couple of ways that we can use so that we may practice the art of silence and master this practice. And the first of which, what we already talked about, and that is awareness. Realize, know that every single word that you say will either testify for you or against you. You are the author of your book. Know what you are writing in your book. You are the author. You will read your book in the afterlife. Realize that every person that you speak bad about, anyone that you slander, anyone that you backbite, anyone that you talk in a negative context will come to you Yawm al-Qiyamah as your opponent. As your opponent. You are bringing greater claims to yourself on Yawm al-Qiyamah. Either because you're angry or because most of the people are doing it. But without even realizing, you may bring one, not just one, but even many Muslims down. Many nations down, ethnicities down. So now in Yawm al-Qiyamah, you have multiple people, groups, nations, ethnicities, colors coming to you on Yawm al-Qiyamah and saying, Ya Allah, he said or she said this about us. When you have that realization, that awareness, you're less likely to speak without realizing what you're saying. You're more likely to master the art of silence, to practice silence. Scared to say something that you may regret later on. Number two, and that is to occupy your speech with with what is pleasing to Allah Azza wa Jalla, as was described to us by the Prophet Muhammad Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. When he's saying, لا يستقيم إيمان عبد حتى يستقيم قلبه ولا يستقيم قلبه حتى يستقيم لسانه. That a servant's faith will not be upright until his heart is upright, and his heart will not be upright until his tongue is upright. That is by saying adhkar, saying la ilaha illallah, reciting Quran, saying that which is good of speech. You are rectifying your heart. You are rectifying your iman. So now, before the words even come out of your mouth, they are checked by your iman. They are checked by your heart. And you are less likely to say that which is displeasing to Allah, and you are more likely to practice this art of silence. And number three, and this is for the young ones, and that is to watch the surroundings that you surround yourself around. Watch the friend group that you surround yourself around. If you find that your friends are often slandering, you find that your friends are often backbiting, you find that your friends are often speaking whatever they want, whenever they want, posting about whatever they want, then maybe you need to change that friend group. Or maybe you need to advise that friend group, because you will soon find that you are speaking their kind of speech. You are talking and implementing what they say. You are mirroring their behavior and their way of speech. When you practice speaking, then practice speaking with benefit. And you will find that those around you start to respect you a little bit more. See that you have wisdom a little bit more. That you not want to speak and speak and speak. That you're one who practices the master silence. That when you do speak, people want to listen to what you have to say because you don't speak much. And when you do speak, you speak with benefit. And so to conclude, it is the art of silence that we need to practice, while speaking unnecessarily is one of Shaitan's tactics. Whoever is silent is saved. Whoever is not is enslaved. Better to hold back, to pause and delay, than regret the words that you can't take away. Anyone who you backbite will be your opponent on that day, a day where you will not have permission to say. Guard your speech as you guard your prayer, for the weight of words is beyond compare. With each breath, choose to refrain from spreading gossip, slander, or disdain. For every word spoken without care is a burden that only you will bear. The wisdom of a person is in their silence. This is Islam showing us true guidance. I ask Allah Azza wa Jal to enable us to practice the art of silence. I ask Allah Azza wa Jal to save us from the burdens of the hereafter. I ask Allah Azza wa Jal to give us the best of speech and to put wisdom in our speech. I ask Allah Azza wa Jal to make our tongues moist with His remembrance. I ask Allah Azza wa Jal to help our brothers and sisters who are suffering in East Turkestan and Palestine and Lebanon and all around the world. I ask Allah Azza wa Jal to destroy their oppressors and to save those who are oppressed. عباد الله إن الله يأمر بالعدل والإحسان وإيتاء ذي القربى وينهى عن الفحشاء والمنكر والبغي يعظكم لعلكم تذكرون فاذكروا الله العظيم يذكركم واشكروه يزدكم واستغفروه يغفر لكم واتقوه يجعل لكم من أمركم مخرجا وأقيموا الصلاة.